All right. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast, where we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them, they struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy, and using a proven tax deferral strategy, such as the Deferred Sales Trust, is an amazing way for you to exit highly appreciated assets, defer millions of tax so you can create and preserve more wealth, or help your clients, friends, and family do the same. Hey, we're also streaming on expert CRE secrets as well, where we bring on commercial real estate experts and brokers to talk about real estate and different ways to build wealth there. I'm excited about our next guest. He is out of the great state of Georgia, and he began his entrepreneur career and journey as a part owner project manager for a residential construction company, which specialized in working strictly for investors from about 2012 2017. And then in 2017, he started his commercial construction industry, where he oversaw and build outs for Arby's, Jimmy John's, Smoothie Kings, and different medical buildings. As well, he helped lead teams and oversaw approximately $3 million in construction projects per year through 2020. He's a licensed realtor, and he specializes in commercial multifamily assets, and is also now the COO over at Empire Empire Operating System. Please welcome to the show with me, Jim Tannehill. Jim, how you doing?
Good, Brett. How are you? Thanks for having me.
I'm well. Thank you so much. For our listeners getting to know you for the first time, would you give us a little bit more about your story and your current focus?
Yeah. So, like you said, started my real estate career back in 2012. We actually did a wholesale deal. So originally I'm from Northwest Indiana. We did a wholesale deal with the lake house in Cary, Illinois. And we made about 25 grand on our first deal. And we're like, man, this is pretty cool. You can make money in real estate. So that really got the entrepreneurial bug and got me going in that industry. Stayed in that industry for quite a while. And then at the end of 2020, I decided I wanted to get out of kind of construction and got my real estate license. And then about a year after I did that, I saw the Empire Operating System, and I said, man, I wish I would have known this back when I first started my entrepreneurial journey. Would have saved me from learning a lot of lessons the hard way. Mm-hmm. So it's become my drive, my passion, my focus right now to educate everybody on how important an operating system. Empire is obviously important in what I'm representing, but how important an operating system is in your business, and how important it is to implement it early on versus waiting until you get to a comfortable place. So yeah, I started with towards the beginning of the year as COO of Empire, and it's been going great.
It's awesome. By the way, you can find out more about the business operating system by going to empireom.com. That's empireom.com. And as well, we're going to talk about how to build an empire, right? And in particular processes and systems. So Jim, let's jump right in. So what's the number one secret to building, a good operating system for a business?
Yeah. So, we have a saying, and it's, how do you build an empire? By laying one brick at a time. And so we talk about the brick concept. So the brick concept is, and I won't go into the entire story, but there was a time back when businesses were booming. They're starting to build. Manhattan is right across the river from Newark, New Jersey. And if you look, both of them really started building their cities right at the same time. Newark had a leg up. They had, their banks were dredged enough. They had enough for cargo ships and ships to come in. They're set to be the center of commerce for the Western world. But what Newark got caught up on is they wanted different architectural designs. They wanted all these specialty materials, different things like that, when there was a brick factory right up the river from both them and Manhattan. So while Newark was focused on the different architectural designs and trying to make it look as beautiful and pretty as possible, all Manhattan was trying to do was just build their buildings as quickly as possible. That way they could fill them and get people in. So if you'll go to the actual Hell's Kitchen area of Manhattan, that downtown area, you'll see the goldish, brownish discolored bricks, but those are the actual original bricks that the city of Manhattan was used and was built with. And Manhattan obviously now is the epicenter for business in the Western world from the Eastern world, but it wasn't originally set up to be that way. And it's because they focused on that just laying a brick instead of worry about everything else. In business, and that correlates in business. There's a lot of different shiny toys, objects that can distract us. But if we broke our business all the way down to its core and we realize, hey, what is that one thing that our company can do every day to help this to help our company grow efficiently and effectively, that's where the brick concept comes in. So, another example is, think of a river when it's got a current, and when the river is wide, the current's kind of flowing, you don't really see how fast it's going. But once that river really starts to narrow, that current really starts to pick up, and it becomes a lot faster. And that's what we're doing with your brick, is we're really dialing all the way in on a micro level, at a micro scale, seeing what that is, and then building your systems and processes off of that. So that's really
Excellent.
what we talk about.
Excellent. Yeah. And again, you can figure this out by going to empireom.com, and they have a free course that you can take the course. If you use the code CGTS for capital gains tax, which is CGTS, and you can check that out. And so it's a software behind the system to build your empire, and it's Empire Toolbox, and they have all kinds of courses and different things and coaches to help you out. And excellent. So the first step is to really focusing on that big domino, if you will, right, Jim? Like, what's that big domino that's going to move your business forward? Manhattan, focused on, like, it was just bricks, just get more bricks and build more buildings, right?
Yeah.
And the rest of the commerce will come. So what do you feel like the number two secret is once you figured out what your next big brick is, or system is set up to do it, to build
really
business?
So that next step from realizing where your brick is to look at your SIPOC, and I'll explain the acronym in a second. But you look at your SIPOC to see what your core processes need to be. Each business, each company has anywhere from 5 to 10 core processes. So SIPOC stands for supply, input, process, output, customer. So supply is, where your leads are coming in, where your leads are going out and generating the leads. Your input is how you're getting those leads into your system. Your process, where that P is, that's where your solution meets that customer's problem. Where you're, for in real estate, we're talking real estate here. When for an investor or a company like that, your solution typically lies in signing a contract, getting a contract signed. That's where your solution meets that customer's problem. The output is the performance, and then the customer, the C for customer is, besides a referral customer, the best customer to have is a repeat customer. How do you repeat that customer? So by doing that, by looking at your SIPOC and doing that, from that, you're able to define your 5 to 10 different core processes. And that's where 80%, we say 80% of your business should be able to be processed and identified from your SIPOC. And then the rest, that third layer would be an accountability chart to really layer out the sub processes and the rest of those processes that we need to identify.
Okay. So I've heard another acronym, ACDC, right? Which is attract, convert, deliver, collect, right?
Yeah.
And so I see how some of these kind of overlap a bit here. Okay. So you want to identify your SIPOC and what are those 5 to 10 core processes. Before we go too far there, what would you say the biggest brick that people miss, right? When they're, let's say, pretty successful businesses, right? And they're looking to scale, not talking the ones that are brand new,
right?
But what are ones that you would say, gosh, like this, they're $1 to $10 million of revenue, and they're wanting to grow, but they're hitting kind of a roadblock, if you will. What would you say the next big brick that they need to be focusing on seems to come up?
Yeah, so typically what I see is it's in their cash conversion cycle. So they're focused on the brick, and they've got set process procedures in place, but they're not able to speed up that cash conversion cycle because they're not tracking. So another thing that we'll talk about is, you've heard of KPIs, key performance indicators. There's also key process indicators and key profit indicators. Once you have your KPIs, your key performance indicators in place off of your process and procedures, then you really need to look at your key process indicators, because there is where the speed and those minor tweaks that'll take you from good to great, that's where those lie. And a lot of the companies, because I help process map and set up systems and procedures in businesses a lot. A lot of them are not looking at their process indicators to realize, okay, hey, we're able to, in real estate, in commercial real estate, say the cycle time is 60 days from contract till we get paid. Is there steps in the process for us to speed that up to make that from 60 to 50 days? Because if you're able to turn your money 10 days faster, how much more can you make? What deals are you missing out on that you could actually capitalize on? So that would be the next layer. That's a big missing piece when companies we talk about 5 phases of business: startup, perseverance, viability, scale, and succession. When a company's in viability and they're looking to go to scale, that's one thing that we really try to track is their key process indicators, because that will help them accelerate. And it's just, again, small minor tweaks, but that we're able to make by doing that.
Cash conversion cycles. Okay. So is that like collections for a company, or is that like investing the funds for a company? Like give us maybe like a real world example on this.
Yeah, so cash conversion cycle, what we mean by that, and again, there's a lot of different ways people can use that, but what we mean by that is from the time that you spend ad dollars to get a client, all the way through to where you've performed, you've completed that process. What is that cycle? What is that life cycle time? What does that time look like? So say, in commercial or residential real estate, if you're trying to get off market properties, you're marketing, you're spending these dollars. And if it's 60 days, 120 days, whatever that is, once you establish that baseline, great. Now you have that data. How can we make that faster? How can we make that cash conversion cycle speed up? That way we get more, we can spend more money.
So the time you maybe did an initiative, or you did like a YouTube ad or a Facebook ad or a mailer or whatever that like initial thing is, what did that cost you, right? Right. And then what was when did the lead come in, B, and then how long did it take you to actually close and get paid on that? Is that a fair summary?
Yeah. So exactly that, and that's what we want to track. We want to track, the SIPOC, A to B. So supply, when we paid for it, to when it came in, to when we were able to convert with the contract, to when we were able to perform on it, and then to when it's all said and done, the customer is satisfied. So you want to track that at that macro level, all the way from A to Z. But then you also want to track the time all in between, so that way okay, we're going from A to B in 10 days, but then we're going from B to C in 30 days. How can we save time? Sometimes there isn't a way to save time, but let's at least look at that and see what that is. So just to say overall, hey, this sales process is just taking us too long. Okay, that's probably true, but what part of that sales process is taking too long? Because it's not the entire thing. There's a breakdown somewhere in there that we need to identify. So it's that those key process indicators that
got it. So there's a saying, hire the who, don't be the how, right? Yeah. So this seems like this is a full-time job for someone to be tracking and looking at. What would you call that person? What's the ideal kind of workflow / job description for that person?
Yeah, so we really like, the COO, the operations manager, like they are the ones that run the day-to-day, whoever's running the day-to-day operations, that's who should be tracking it. But then you should also be building out that leadership team, right? To where each leadership, so if you have a marketing department, a sales department, a customer review department, HR department, they're the ones that are accountable and responsible for getting you that information, whether it's on our dashboard. There's a lot of good project management softwares out there, but just because that person, delegating and elevating, just because that person we say is accountable for it, doesn't mean they're the ones performing the action. They've got their employees and team members that are helping them get to that point. But it should be the COO, the operations manager, whoever that is that's in charge of the day-to-day. They should be tracking and overseeing.
Excellent. What's your, Asana, Trello? Like what's
Asana, Trello. We have Empire Toolbox, which we're working to roll out. It's not finally rolled out. ClickUp's a good one. And there's a couple others like those, but those are all, whatever you're doing that's working, that's what's the most
okay.
important.
So Jim, you guys come in, you guys coach people through this, right? So you help them get the processes in place, you help them to really get organized with these KPIs, the processes, the profits, and the procedures, and get it all lined up. Is that what you guys do? Is that a fair summary?
Yeah, that's all part of it. We also work, help you with your purpose statement, mission statement, forecasting, core values, and a lot of leadership. We teach the operational side, but there's a lot of methodology and ideology that's tied to it that goes along with it. But yeah, that is a fair summary.
That's awesome. I think it needs help. I mean, even people with QuickBooks too, right? Do you guys do like the QuickBooks and integrations and all that?
Yeah. Yep.
It's great. Excellent. So we covered kind of the first two. Anything else you want to add to the number one secret to building, an empire and operations? Anything else you want to add? What I haven't asked you so far?
No, I mean, those are really, the foundational, the foundation of Empire and who we are. That's what that is. I'll just if you don't mind, I'll share a quick story to add some validity to Empire and what we do is, so a couple years ago, our CEO, co-founder, Eddie Wilson, he had over 100 companies and 4,000 employees, and he was using other operating systems to help grow and scale his businesses. And good operating systems, you won't hear a negative word from myself, from Eddie, about any of the other operating systems out there. Great operating systems. And the importance is, and I'll reiterate that, is that you have an operating system that you at least go by. But he wasn't happy with everything that he got. So he took all the good pieces that he liked from operating systems, and he built what we call Empire now. In 2019, he was able to exit, I believe it's 85 of those businesses for $1 billion plus in revenue. And that, that's a big number. And it's not just because, obviously, it's not just because the operating system, there's a lot of other things that he did, but it was partly because he had an operating system and he built it. So the biggest difference between us and any other operating system out there is we can help you in all the 5 phases. So again, that's startup, perseverance, viability, scale, and succession. We can help you we'll meet you where you are and help take you to where you want to go. Where some of those operating systems are great to help you get from perseverance into viability. Some are good to help you once you get to that point from viability to scale. But we feel like we are that one operating system that speaks to all those phases and can help you in each one of those.
Yeah, very well said. Hey, by the way, you can learn more about Jim Tannehill at empireom.com. It's empireom.com. You can check out the free business operation course. Make sure you put the code in CGTS. That's CGTS. All right. Well, we're going to shift gears a little bit, Jim. We're going to talk a little bit about the frustration with the 1031 exchange. A lot of people, they go to exit businesses or real estate or crypto, and they're faced with 25 to 50% in capital gains tax, and they're not sure how to defer it or how to exit well or how to do succession planning when they're facing this huge tax. And so I'm curious, in your experience, what's been the biggest frustration for either business owners or investors in real estate when it comes to exiting highly appreciated assets?
Yeah, just not knowing where to put their money, just like you said, because they worked hard. Entrepreneurs, everybody works very hard to build their business, and the last thing you want is to exit for a good amount and then get taxed on it, because we've been taxed our entire lives on everything. So the hardest part, and kind of what correlates with this, is we'll watch people they'll get tired of their business, very successful, and then they'll just sit on it and not allow it to continue to run because they're afraid to exit because of the capital gains taxes. So really educating them on where to place the money, how to place it, what to use. That is a huge problem going on right now in the industry.
Absolutely. Well said. Yeah, we call that capital escape feeling trapped by capital gains tax jail, right? Where you're like, well, I love to exit the business, but then I'm going to give half of it away to the government. So why? And after I pay closing costs to M&A advisors and attorneys and pay off my loan, I'm like, I might as well just let the thing just kind of go, just bleed it out, like let it just kind of fall apart.
Right.
Or I have to just keep working and keep growing it. And they feel like it's a rock and a hard place, right? And by the way, if you guys are curious, we have a solution for that. It's called a Deferred Sales Trust. Enables you to exit capital gains tax deferred, also move funds outside your taxable estate. In fact, we just did a deal for an owner of an apartment complex in Colorado, $4.2 million sale. And his name is Ron, and his wife are looking at it. They run an Airbnb business. That's the business on the property. Huge tax. And they're like, Brett, we're making a lot of money, but we're like ready to just kind of retire and to spend more time, on properties aren't as intensive and more time traveling. And so they were able to exit without having to do a 1031 exchange. If you want to learn more about that, you can go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. That's capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. You can also check out the new book that's coming out. It's called Building a Tax Deferred Exit Strategy. And Kevin Harrington from Shark Tank's in the book. Other multifamily operators, syndicators are in the book. That's Building a Tax Deferred Exit Strategy on Amazon. That being said, Jim, are you ready for the lightning round?
Yeah, let's go. Let's do it.
All right. Knowing what you know now, Jim, if you go back to your 25-year-old self or 20-year-old self, what's the one golden nugget you make sure to tell yourself to do?
Man, the work is worth it, but figure out earlier on how to work smarter and not just harder. It's both. It's not. I've always heard the term, work harder, not smarter, but it's both. Though the great ones, the ones that are set apart, they work harder and smarter. So I wish I would have realized that back then, how important it is to work smarter to go along with the hard work.
Excellent. Question number 2: what's the number one book you've recommended or gifted the most in the past year?
Oh man, you can't You Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. That one's a great mindset one. Entrepreneur. He's really good at setting the mindset. And then I have a second one that I really like. Tim Grover wrote. He's written Relentless and Winning. He was the personal trainer for Michael Jordan and currently Russell Wilson, a lot of high caliber athletes. And I just really like the mindset stuff right now. So Tim Grover and David Goggins.
Excellent. Question number 3. What are you most curious about right now?
Oh, what am I most curious about? I'd like to understand a little bit more about, blockchain and NFTs and that kind of industry. I've had some people try to educate me on that, but with everything that I've got going on, I haven't been able to focus on that. But I do feel like that's important and might be, it depends on who you talk to. But I feel like that might be one of the next big things in business. So I'd like to be able to slow down a little bit and kind of wrap my brain around that.
Absolutely. And by the way, I'll be speaking at the Blockchain Real Estate Summit coming up in Austin, Texas. If anyone is interested in attending, you should come check it out. It's talking all things blockchain and real estate. Some amazing speakers and amazing people going to be there. That's in Austin, Texas, coming up in September 23rd and 24th, AT&T Conference Center in Austin, Texas. You can go to blockchainrealestatesummit.com to learn more. That's blockchainrealestatesummit.com. Next question for Jim. Number one leadership quote or theme that you strive to live by?
Oh man, I have I have an entire notes in my phone that I take down, but right now, the last quote that really I'm chewing on is, "We don't see the world as it is, we see the world as we are." And that's been something that I've been really chewing on and working on my perspective right now. Is, that's why the definition of America means so many different things, so many different people, and they're not wrong. It's just the way they view the world. So I'm working on really my perspective, how I view the world, how I view this different situations I in, good or bad. They're indifferent. It's how I view them. And that's something, I think I heard that from Ryan Holiday on one of either his podcasts, or I listen to most of my books. So it's either on Audible or that, but that's the quote that sticks with me right now.
Awesome, Jim. Thanks for sharing. Last question. After all your success, helping the people you've helped, building the business you've built, and how do you help, what's the number one habit that you practice that helps you to stay centered in your values and stay encouraged to charge forward to reach new heights?
Yeah, so I'm very spiritual. I believe in God, and that time that I spend praying, meditating, and in church and reading the Bible for myself, doing devotions like that. That's what helps me on the good and bad days. I love Simon Sinek's book. This concept about starting with why, but for me, it's a layer deeper than that. And it starts with who. And I know that I was put on this earth for a reason, to help as many people as possible for a reason. And when I remind myself of that constantly on the good and bad days. On the bad days, Jim, it's going to get better. And the reason you're doing this is because of who God has called you to be and who you're supposed to help. And on the good days, to keep me centered when I'm seeing success, when I'm doing the great things. Remember, it's not about you, Jim. It's about pushing more people to the Lord and to God. So that's really what helps keep me centered.
Beautiful. Amen, brother. Love that. For our listeners who want to get in touch with you, Jim, what's the best place for them to find you?
Yeah. So, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram. I'm at coach.jimT. And then if they want to reach out via email, it's jim@empireom.com. And then, I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram, most of the social media platforms. So that'd be the best way.
Awesome, Jim. Thanks for being on the show. And also thank our listeners for listening to an episode of the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast, also streamed on Expert CRE Secrets, where we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them, they struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax referral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy, and having a proven exit strategy like the Deferred Sales Trust exit is an amazing way to build your wealth, to create and preserve more wealth, or getting with someone like Jim as a coach to actually supply, input, process, output, customer, all of the stuff, SIPOC, to build your operation. So you actually have a big profit, right? And you can sell it at even a bigger price. You want to make sure you're hiring the who, not being the how. And we got to remind ourselves, all of us who are entrepreneurs and real estate investors of any sort, if we're building something, if we want to scale, you want to get with experts like Jim and his group. go to empireom.com to learn about that. And if you want to learn more about the Deferred Sales Trust, just go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. That's capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. Look for the new book that's coming out here soon. Again, Building a Tax-Deferred Exit Strategy. And it's the proven playbook for unlocking your ideal wealth plan when exiting any highly appreciated asset. So appreciate everyone out there. Please rate, review, subscribe. Please share this with someone who can be an inspiration to. And we so appreciate everyone out there in YouTube, iTunes, and everywhere else that you might be consuming the content. And until next time.